Mind over movies, more in the morning, nights. This is a new spinoff show. You know, we usually record our episodes in the morning in broad daylight so people can see our mild-mannered selves.
Yeah, drinking
the
coffee.
After Hours Mind Over Movies?
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
We don't drink coffee.
No.
No, sir. No.
No.
It's a whole different... It's like HBO After Hours. We've got all kinds of freaky stuff going on.
We got nicotine fiends and apparently Game of Thrones watchers in the living room.
Oh my god. Dude, that's crazy. I've got all kinds of shady characters in my apartment. I've got, well, actually, I just heard my neighbor loudly banging on the door, being like, let me in. I hope he's okay. Genuine concern, actually, right now. On my neighbor right now. For my neighbor. You know, one of the weird things when I'm recording is I can usually hear the upstairs neighbors stomping around. They're always going boom, 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 boom. But, you know, I thought that wouldn't be a problem now that it's night. But I still hear it. I still hear them going around, like their little footsteps every second. They're like stomping when they walk. I have no idea what it is, but they've been doing it almost since like December. Like I've just always heard footsteps banging around up there.
It's because they know we have a podcast and they want to interrupt it. Because that's about
they want to be on the show.
Yeah, that's about the time
Hey,
we started the podcast, though.
Clout chasers, I get it.
Right?
I get it. We'll have them as guests one day, and they can tell their side of the story.
True.
But in our first After Hours episode, which is, you know, obviously going to be a successful spinoff, we might have to start a whole new podcast page for Mind Over Movie Nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is spinoff material. We just get right into it. We don't fart around. We don't do bits. We just talk about what we see. Boom, Casey, go.
1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. That's a book that I own. I haven't read all of it, but there are, in fact, 1001 movies that I need to see before I, enter eternal darkness. So,
dude, have you seen any of them though? And more importantly, did you see any of those movies this week?
Not any of the 1001 movies you need to see before you die, probably, but I did watch like a film, maybe. I might have watched like one.
You tease.
I know.
Tell me more.
Yeah. So I finished the Little Things. That
we
were talking about
right.
that
I forgot
week.
that you didn't actually finish it.
Yeah.
When we talked.
I mean, there's not much to talk about. I just finished it and it was fine.
Your thoughts are still the same.
Yeah, literally. Like it really was like just fine. Like I like the very end of it. I think it's kind of got like a cool ending. But it's just overall, the movie, it's sort of like, what was it for? And that's what I was left thinking. Then I recently watched another Korean new wave film from director Wook Chan Park. I believe that was Wook Chan Park, I believe. Yes, it was. Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. It was the third film. Yeah, it's on the Criterion channel. And it is very, 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 very good. I loved it so much. It's the third film in Chan Wook Park's Vengeance trilogy. He did Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and then he did Old Boy.
Old Boy is some good stuff.
Yeah, and interestingly, he wasn't trying to make. Everybody was asking him when he was going to make his third Vengeance movie, and he never had any plans to make a third movie. He didn't consider it a trilogy, but people were already calling it a trilogy. And he got kind of upset, and he screamed at one of the reporters, I'm gonna do a third one in 2005. Or he's like, in a couple years. He's like, it's coming out, the trilogy. And everybody just clung to this, and he felt like a coward for not doing it, and had like this sort of sense of honor, like he had to honor this thing, honor his own words that he said, and not go back on them. So he made Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, and it's so different from his other two films in that sort of trilogy. But at the same time, it's probably like one of the most interesting films I've ever seen. It's funny. It's very dark, very violent, and very stylish, and actually tugs at the heartstrings a little bit. And
whoa,
I know
that doesn't sound like any of those things mashed.
No, but I mean, you have to like if Wes Anderson and Quentin Tarantino like kind of got together and directed a movie, that's what Sympathy for Lady Vengeance is. I know.
I'm sold. What?
I know, dude.
Okay.
Dude, go on, get on the Criterion channel and watch this freaking movie, dude. It is amazing. I absolutely loved it. It's so different. I've never seen anything like it before, but that's why I love Korean cinema, to be honest with you. So that was a great watch. So that's my movie of the week. I didn't really watch anything else. I've been pretty busy. I was on another film set. So did you?
Yeah, I've been wanting to finish a movie I started the other day, Sound of Metal.
Yeah, I've heard that's good.
This is a Golden Globe nominee too for Riz Ahmed. He's a Best Actor nominee. It's a movie about a heavy metal drummer who starts going deaf because, I mean, his profession
he's a heavy metal
banging
drummer.
loudly. Yeah, he's a heavy metal drummer.
Yeah.
it doesn't lend itself to good hearing. And so essentially, like, the movie is about him coming to terms with becoming deaf, and like he's learning sign language. He like his friends send him to a house where he can like adapt to this new lifestyle and like, you know, minimal hearing. And it's super interesting so far. And Riz Ahmed, I feel, has not been like well utilized in like blockbuster movies. Like he got his start on that HBO show in the Dark of the Night or something, where he was playing like an wrongfully accused Muslim and a lawyer who was originally supposed to be who's Tony Soprano on The Sopranos? Do you know? James Gandolfini. That was like his passion project. Yeah, it's a whole long story. The start of his career, but you know, I feel like Riz Ahmed has been wasted in stuff like Rogue One. He's like hardly in that movie, and then like, you know, the ending of Rogue One happens, and he's not gonna come back to the Star Wars franchise. And then I haven't really seen him in anything else. So it's really cool to see him in a project like this and see his like serious acting chops. And, you know, I'm not going to say go watch this movie yet because it seems really interesting now. But I've been burned before recommending a movie to someone and then like watching the second half of it if I have to do a two-parter and being like, oh, actually, that's some stupid shit.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
It's
I need to catch up on that.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it before the Oscars because I can't say that I give a shit about the Golden Globes.
Yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, I was thinking about like when we recorded this podcast or when we decided to record it, I was like, should we do this like after the Golden Globes? And I was like, nah, because I really don't care that much, and I don't think, you know, Isaac does either. So,
will they have aired after like when this episode airs?
It was Golden Globes are tomorrow, Sunday.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna make a prediction right here. Emily in Paris winning Best Series, like I didn't see it coming either. Like that's
There's a movie that I think will win.
Is it
Frick.
music?
No. Hell no. I forgot what the list is. I was gonna say Minari, but I was thinking of the Oscars. I think Minari's gonna win the Oscars, but
yeah, Minari's not even nominated for Best Picture. Like it's nominated for Best Foreign Film, but
yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, it's shoot. Hold on, I got the nominees right here. I'm sorry, I have to give my.
No, I get it. You have to be right.
Yeah, I have to be.
I'm good at predicting Oscars. I can't say that I have a very good track record predicting Golden Globes because that's just too much. You know, splitting the Best Picture categories into.
Right.
Two different.
It's a genres. It's so weird. But I think best motion picture drama it's Nomad. It's either Nomadland or The Trial of the Chicago 7. That's my pick. Or not basically my pick. It's my guess about what's gonna win.
Yeah, I don't feel like Mank is gonna sweep the awards this year. Like maybe Gary Oldman will win something because, he's like very clearly being pushed. And I think Frances McDormand is a pretty safe choice to win any Best Actress category she's in. But yeah, tell us how wrong we are on Tuesday. Let's see. I do think that maybe of the drama motion picture category, I'm going to say probably Trial of the Chicago 7 because Aaron Sorkin's a safe guy to go with. Foreign language film, Minari. And then Best Comedy. This category is a mess because I think two of these movies are not movies that people would necessarily say should be critically acclaimed, like Music and The Prom. Like, that really sets the bar pretty low. And then your third movie in that category is not a movie as much as it is a recording of a play, because Hamilton is on there. And then there's Palm Springs, which I like a lot. And my favorite on this musical or comedy list is Borat's subsequent movie film, because it's brilliant, but I don't think it's going to win. So what I think is going to win is either Hamilton or Palm Springs, but I'm leaning towards Hamilton because, like, I don't know. I feel like the other options are all pretty weak contenders for award season winning,
Yeah. No.
Other than Music. If Music wins, people will riot. I guarantee that.
I will riot. That's ridiculous. I think also it's just really stupid to have Hamilton as considered in the category for musical or comedy. It's a recording of a stage play. I can't.
I get that there was a bare minimum this year, but like
I still don't think. Yeah, I still don't think that gives it merit to be considered for this. It's just transposing something to the screen, and I don't know. I just don't think it. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway,
I don't think that filming a Broadway play warrants being considered a feature film.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I think that the Hamilton production is very well shot, and I love a lot of the angle. Like, they do attempt to make it a film. Like, you're on stage with the actors at several points. There are swooping shots that are cool, and it's like stitching very many performances together. So there is editing and cinematography that warrants like a film. But I don't think that the medium itself can be considered a film. I don't know if that sounds pretentious, like, oh, filming a stage where people are performing a play is not enough. But I feel like I'm in the right to say this because it is just a Broadway play that they filmed, Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. You said what I was trying to say, that, it doesn't warrant it, essentially. And you're right. They do try to make you feel like you're there. Like, obviously they had to edit, the movie. Like, they had to edit these cuts together. It's just the principle of it, of counting it. It just bugs me. Not that it's bad in any way, like the Hamilton movie, or the filmed version of the play. Not that it's bad or anything. It's just, I don't know. The Golden Globes are weird, dude. Maybe the Oscars will also have it on there, but I don't know. I just don't know.
Golden Globes are just like the safe white choice usually, that's what they'll go with. And I mean, I guess they just didn't have enough movies this year, so Hamilton
yeah exactly.
That's just the year we're facing.
Sadly.
But speaking of like movies, I guess on Mom After Hours we like to just get into things. So I mean, shall we talk about our topic?
Shall we?
Of the evening?
Shall we?
Might bring chills to the viewers' ears, though.
I think it.
Be careful.
I think it will. Today we have a very special episode. Today we are talking about a topic that I have wanted to talk about for a while because I love all of these directors. Today we're talking about 6, not 1, not 2, but 6 directors. And they all have one thing in common.
My God.
What is it?
They are all really pretty.
Yes. They're also all men. I'm just kidding. Actually, no, they are. But
I mean, that is.
that's not what I'm getting at, though. Today we wanted to talk about the three very prominent horror directors of old and three very prominent horror directors of new. And those are Wes Craven, John Carpenter, George A. Romero, God rest his soul, and Wes Craven, God rest his soul. And
oh, wow. I forgot they're both dead.
yeah, I know. It's really, it's a bummer. But John Carpenter's still kicking.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah,
he's
somehow.
composing music, though. He's a full-time music guy now.
That's so cool that he is, though. It's really dope.
He's really freaking good at it.
I know, dude. He's so good at it. But and then the three new ones are, of course, Jordan Peele, Ari Aster, and Robert Eggers.
All really good. Man, it's hard to pick modern directors because they're all so good right now. I mean, like there's Jennifer Kent, the mind behind the Babadook, and the Nightingale. And then I know you don't like it. I know you don't like it very much, but It Follows.
Yeah.
The guy who did that and Under the Silver Lake. I'm trying to remember his name because he was just primarily at music.
No, it's so weird. I hate both of those movies. Actually, I don't hate. Really? I don't hate Under the Silver Lake. I think I need to watch it again because it's so.
You hate
freaking
It Follows?
Weird.
That's how strong you feel about it.
I just think it's so.
David Robert Mitchell is his name, by the way.
Okay, gotcha. David Robert Mitchell. I just think it's like a one-trick pony, and like once you've watched 5 minutes of it, you don't need to watch the rest of it.
That hurts my feelings so much.
I'm sorry. I'll take an L on it if I have to.
For my favorite horror movie, it's okay. It's okay. We'll talk about these other brilliant people instead.
I mean, hey, kudos to all the people mentioned, and I guess we got a shout out to what's the guy's name? Eli Roth. He does a lot of just gore stuff that people seem to love a lot.
People seem to love it, but that's definitely not my thing.
It's not mine either.
Eli Roth, yeah. But I mean, okay.
I mean, we got to give credit where credit's due. He did make some waves in 2010 in that era, in the 2010.
Decade. When I stayed in a hostel, I thought of the feature film Hostel.
Yeah, I went
there, so I was like, oh god.
Yeah. But no, I picked these three because I think they have some really cool parallels, and I think they're all geniuses in their own right. And I guess we'll start with just the earliest one. I think the first one doing it, George A. Romero.
Yes.
I would just like to point out that he's the cutest man I've ever seen. I mean, his glasses and his big ears.
Oh my god, I love his glasses. They're adorable. I saw him speak, and he's like, I don't know what I expected, but George A. Romero is like really down to earth guy. I mean, like, he's not all that sick and twisted or whatever. He just is like a really nice guy that makes gory zombie movies. He's like, oh yeah, the trolls really like Day of the Dead, but that's my personal favorite too. He doesn't sound like that. That was in no way an impression.
No, he seems like a teddy bear of a man. Like he seems like he'd be scary, but he's really down to earth, and he's super nice, and you can tell just in the interviews just how genuine he is. I think
it says a lot about a person when they shoot all their films in their hometown. Like if he could, he would make it a Pittsburgh feature, and he'd get people from Pittsburgh to be in his movies. Like that was apparently a rite of passage in that area. Is if you lived in Pittsburgh, your goal was to be a zombie in a George Romero movie. Like that was just the dream.
Yeah.
I've just always thought that was really cute and great.
Yeah, he. Sorry, I was looking at. Sorry, I was looking at my computer and then I just zoned out. I was trying to respond to. I was trying to respond to you though. Yeah, the shooting in the hometown thing, like, in a way, I feel like he's kind of like even though it's never kind of, I view him as a hero of like independent cinema, because if you look back at his very first one, Night of the Living Dead, he's so, what's the word? He does it in the most student filmmaker way possible, right? But he does something that inspires, countless people. I believe, I think it was John Carpenter actually that did that, so never mind. But, George Romero, I think he was going to film school and when he made Night of the Living Dead. And my dogs are very mad.
Oh my gosh, they sound angry, dude.
Yeah, they're having a good time. Anyway, made this film for very, 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 very low budget. Shot on really grainy film. Shot in like basically maybe 2 locations. Again in his hometown, and just sparked a whole legion of like, I guess basically like cult fans. Not actual occult fans, but like I remember, I think in an interview, he said that Night of the Living Dead was not like a huge thing when it came out. Like obviously like a studio had bought it, but it more became like a cult classic like over time. Not a whole lot of people
because
really
he didn't make any
it.
money off of it.
No, not at all.
Like
yeah,
because people would just screen the movie and they didn't make any money from it, and it wasn't until that's why they remade the movie years later. Is the people who made the original? It's supposed to be one of the most successful horror movies and influential horror movies of all time, but none of the people involved got to actually like profit from it because of how flimsy the rights to it were, and the ability to shut down theaters that were showing it without paying the crew. Like that's why they made that 1991, was so that people could finally see pay from it. Like. Which it's not a great reason to remake a movie, I don't think, but
right, yeah.
I mean,
I guess the intentions were pure, I guess, for the crew at least, Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and one thing that's interesting about Night of the Living Dead, is the race sorry, I got caught up on my words, are the racial implications at the end of the film, which was a complete accident. He says
that he didn't make a conscious choice casting a black man as the lead role. He just thought he was the best for the part.
Exactly. And he said he thought he was the best of their friends that could act really well, and they thought, well, whatever, we'll keep him in. It's it's kind of hip, they'll be hip. But it's the 60s, and he's like, it'll be fine. Like, what are you worried about? And then on the way to some kind of producers meeting or something to deliver a final cut or to screen it for the producers or something like that. I believe I recall him saying in the car ride on the way there, JFK was assassinated, or not JFK, sorry, MLK was assassinated.
Oh my gosh, too many Ks getting assassinated throughout the 60s.
Right?
I mean,
and all of a sudden it was a race thing again, is what he said. He hadn't thought about it in that context until, they were on that car drive, and he kept reassuring his actor. I can't remember the guy's name that was the main actor, but he kept reassuring him, like, nah, it'll be fine. Like, things are moving forward. It's the 60s, like, that's going to be fine. And then all of a sudden this happens, and then that ending scene was all of a sudden, about race, and that's so fascinating to me.
The guy's name was Dwayne Jones, by the way.
Yeah, Dwayne Jones, yeah.
And he was played by the Candyman in the 1991 Tony Todd.
Okay,
Tony
gotcha.
Todd is like got to be one of the best, like, looks like the original actor.
Oh yeah,
cast for this role, like things I've ever seen, like.
Right.
He's brilliant. Like, I love Tony Todd in anything he's in. I don't really care for the Candyman movies, but I mean, love that actor.
I gotta be honest. I've never even watched a Candyman movie. I mean, I know about them. I know like what they are and what they're about and such, but I've just never watched one. I need to though.
Aren't they remaking it? Jordan Peele is like attached to.
Yeah, he's
the remake,
he's producing. I think Monkey Paw Productions is attached to the Candyman remake, I believe.
Wow, there you go. Boom. If this were like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, this is 6 degrees of
Right.
whatever we're talking about.
Yeah. Totally. That's funny.
There's parallels. See, it's poetry,
See?
it rhymes.
But anyway, yeah, George Romero, super influential. Had a part in the Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies map, Call of the Dead, which is a super cool map and super cool game, by the way. And he's known as like the godfather of zombies, and like he was like, I'd never imagined them as zombies. I just called them ghouls. I just thought I was making my own thing up. It's so so interesting to hear him talk about it.
Like the mythos of what a zombie was completely different before. He made this. Like, a zombie was like just someone who was enslaved like mentally to someone else. It was like a voodoo thing. And then with this movie, he thought they were ghouls. I think they even call them ghouls in the movie, and they just eat flesh, and it was something that he made up. And then as we forget that this trilogy, though, this of the Dead trilogy, like the rules were just being added as they went on. Like in the second one is when we established that if something bites you in Dawn of the Dead, if a zombie bites you, that's when you'll turn. So that's when that rule got made up. And then he didn't even make up the they eat brains rule. That was Return of the Living Dead, which is like essentially like a punk horror movie. And in that movie, the zombies are indestructible and they eat brains. And now, of course, in our current culture, we've thrown all of that out the window in our zombie media. We don't even use the word zombie anymore. We come up with something like, oh my God, they were running, so they're runners. They walked at me, so they're walkers.
Yeah.
These filthy creatures.
Yeah.
If only there was a Z word to describe them.
I remember
a pop culture term.
True. I remember there was an interview, or like a part of an interview, where George Romero was like, zombies do not run. If you watch a movie where the zombies run, they're not zombies. He's like, how could they run? Their ankles would break. They're literally just dead corpses. And I just laughed, and I was like, yeah, it's true. And he sticks to his own mythology, I tell you what. But he doesn't give himself enough credit, honestly, I don't think. And,
I think that's probably one of the best things about George Romero is that he never really made movies on like a huge like scale, like he never went for that big budget feel. Like one of the stories about Day of the Dead, which is his favorite of his original trilogy, is he wanted to shoot Gone with the Wind but with zombies. And he had a huge... Yeah, that's how he described it. That's funny. But he had this huge 200-page script. There was going to be all these locations, all these like special effects, and the story was going to like take like 3 hours, maybe even 4. And he brought it to the studio, and they were like, we would love to fund this, but you have to make sure the movie's rated R. And he said, no way. And he ended up working with half the budget, bringing down the script to one location mainly, which is a mine shaft. And also he could have as much gore and whatever else he wanted in the movie. And let me tell you, Day of the Dead might be the goriest movie I've ever seen. And it's kind of awesome.
Right?
Like this might be a little bit graphic for listeners. So, I mean, skip ahead like 30 seconds if you don't want to hear like a gory death scene. But in Day of the Dead, like, here's the level of special effects we're working with. They brought in like rotting pig flesh. So like when the zombies would rip someone open, like it was like a pig carcass over them. And in one of the scenes, someone is getting torn apart and their head is being like taken back. And as their head is being separated, George Romero thought, the vocal cords would get fucked up. So you hear as this guy is dying, his vocal cords are like modulating, and like the pitch gets higher and higher and higher, and it's like the worst sound I've ever heard in any movie.
Oh my God.
Like that's the kind of stuff that the man just wanted in his movies. Like he would not compromise his vision for anyone. And that's just something that he kept throughout his whole life. You know, even though he had the chance to work with a big Hollywood budget, he stuck to like his creative vision, and I quite frankly think that's pretty metal as hell.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, dude. I respect him so much. And I need to catch up on all of his Dead movies. I've only seen, I've seen Night of the Living Dead fully, and I've seen most of the mall one where they were in the mall.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, I've seen most of that. I haven't seen it in a while, and just little bits of other ones here and there. But I really need to go back and just sit down and just watch his entire filmography, because he is a great director with an amazing vision, and rest in peace, George Romero. Made great movies. So.
And he was constantly evolving too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, towards the end, I wouldn't say it was well thought out or even that great.
Right,
but I mean,
right.
he ventured into found footage
Yeah.
in his like later years, which people tend to agree was like his worst work. But I mean, he was trying. Like the man was always trying to adapt to
Definitely.
times. And like his female characters got stronger as the movies went on. He always made a point of representation in his movies. Like George Romero, class act.
Yeah.
And I think he inspired some of our other class acts, even in the older generation that we're talking about. Like, I think this might be completely unfounded, but I think Wes Craven and John Carpenter owe a lot of their careers to George Romero too. And I mean
I
get into those
wouldn't.
guys.
I wouldn't doubt it. I believe George Romero was probably, he made the earliest out of all of them, but I'm pretty sure John Carpenter was next in line to start gaining popularity, especially in the 80s. John Carpenter was a director who I love. I admire him a lot as well, because he didn't just stick to horror things. He ventured out and did a lot of weird stuff, including one of the most interesting movies I've ever seen, Escape from New York.
Yes, Escape from New York rocks.
It's a fabulous movie, and I cannot wait to watch the sequel, Escape from L.A., which apparently is even more crazy. And it's good to note here, John Carpenter is very informed. His films are very informed by politics, or at least most of them are, especially that of They Live and
They Live
the
is
Escape
just like,
movies.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
It's They Live was just a product of Carpenter being fed up with Reaganomics. He did not,
80s excess, all the rest, like.
Exactly. He hated it, and he was like the creatures or the aliens in They Live are just like consumers, hardcore capitalists, Republicans. Those were his exact words. He's like, Republicans. And
I mean, I'm not saying that he got the idea from George Romero, but that's why Dawn of the Dead set in a mall.
I mean,
because he's comparing mall shoppers to zombies.
Yeah,
and then here comes John Carpenter saying the rich are aliens and trying to get you to consume.
Yeah.
Just saying, our boys were pretty liberal back then.
Oh, definitely. John Carpenter, staunch Democrat, dude.
Staunch.
But
I that really bad ponytail, or
right.
He had one for a while.
Oh, the ponytail. I don't want to spend too much time on talking about this movie in particular from John Carpenter, but we have to mention it. I mean, Halloween.
Yes. Well, I mean, Halloween. What Night of the Living Dead did for like zombies, Halloween essentially invented like the modern slasher movie.
Exactly.
And it's probably one of the better examples of a slasher movie still, despite everything that's come after it. Like, it's probably better than most things in that genre.
I mean, it essentially wrote the formula for slasher movies. Like, you got everything you need right there in Halloween. That has been followed to the T, forever. With we'll come back.
You've got the Final Girl.
Yeah.
Got a lot of stuff.
I was about to say we'll come back to it later, but Scream is essentially just satire of of slasher movies and talks about, you know, the rules of these films. And John Carpenter is, you know, if nothing but the actual godfather of those rules. And he carries a lot of the same like beats and I would say I don't know what it is. I'd say it's like the same beats, also the same aesthetic from Halloween over to his 1980 and 1982 The Thing, which I also love so much. And also I just want to say Kurt Russell, you know, what a man, what an actor.
Kurt Russell, Keith David, both of them, amazing.
Yeah, dude.
I love also like John Carpenter's just use of practical effects. Like always, like the man did not go into computer effects whenever he could. I mean, later on in his career he did, but like The Thing is a testament to like practical effects being absolutely horrifying to look at. Like there's that part where the guy, you know, pushes his hands into the stomach and then there's like teeth and like, it's horrifying. I can't even describe it. You know, it's just, it's a bloody mess, but my man loved him some practical gore.
Yeah, right. It's a thing. It's like cosmic horror, and in cosmic horror, there's like this kind of unwritten rule, or maybe it is a written rule, where you don't need or you don't really want to show the monster, and then John Carpenter comes along and kind of like tricks this kind of rule of like, we never see the thing. We never see what it actually looks like. It's constantly evolving and changing, and sometimes it's an amalgamation of different things, and it looks just like this hideous thing. It's literally indescribable, which is what cosmic horror is supposed to be. So while it's indescribable, John Carpenter's also had to describe it to his production designer, you know, and you know, to make the creature, or the different versions of the creature. And he said that people didn't like The Thing, his 1982 version of it when it came out. It was
people
more
thought
of a
it was
cult
like
film.
excessive.
Yeah, they thought it. They were like, "Oh, you're not ever supposed to show the monster. You show the monster too much," and it's just dumb.
And I mean, something else too is it's a remake. It's a remake of a 50s classic, and at the time, people thought that was the superior version. They were like, the 50s movie is so beloved, it's so good. How could you turn it into this horrible gore fest? You're a sick bastard, you know. Essentially.
Wasn't it called the Thing from Another World?
The Thing from Another World. And fun fact, in Halloween, you can see The Thing from Another World on TV because they're watching it together. He bought the rights to show it in that movie too because John Carpenter loved that movie so much. But yeah, I've got to agree, like with the cosmic horror thing, I think that John Carpenter is probably the best adapter of H.P. Lovecraft's works without ever actually adapted H.P. Lovecraft, you know?
Right.
Because he takes all the themes of like the Cthulhu mythos and just all of those short stories and he puts it into film and it's horrifying. Like I don't think like people who are actually adapting H.P. Lovecraft stories do it as effectively as John Carpenter did it in the 80s.
Right.
He's really influenced the way that genre happens. I mean, there's Enter the Void from like 2016 that has a lot of Carpenter influence. And then what's that Nick Cage movie that's absolutely crazy? Is it Mandy?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Mandy.
Yeah.
That's
and then like The Color of
Space
or something he just
did. Color Out of Space.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah. I mean, Nick Cage in these Lovecraft movies, man.
Yeah. Maybe that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
I feel like we got to dedicate a whole episode of the podcast to like, is Nick Cage a good actor?
Oh, we will.
Or not. Okay.
I definitely, I want to talk about that so bad. I think Nicolas Cage is just one of the wildest human beings and the most interesting
people. It warrants a Cage-a-thon at some point. Watch out for that.
Yeah,
it's like the Joker episode. It's coming. It
is coming. It is. I mean, but yeah, John Carpenter, love him. And speaking of Halloween, speaking of slasher films, let's go ahead and get in to the man, the myth, legend himself, Wes Craven. Here we go.
Yeah. I think that he's probably done the most work on like how modern horror movies are, because he's done it all. He's done Nightmare on Elm Street, and then he has ventured into horror comedy later on in his career with Scream. And then, even like before he died, he was still producing a lot of horror movies based on his old IPs with Freddy Krueger. Like, the man is an absolute legend and was always evolving with the times. And I mean, oddly getting funnier as his filmography went on.
Right.
But I actually have probably seen the least of his movies out of the directors we're talking about, because I've only seen Scream.
I've seen a couple of his films. I remember, so I've seen, obviously, Scream. I started watching Scream 2 recently, and then I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street very recently, actually, because I'd never seen it fully. And let me tell you, they call him the master of horror. He is. A Nightmare on Elm Street is oddly terrifying for how, like, kind of campy and just, kind of just like that 80s horror film vibe that you get that it is, it's extremely horrifying, especially the first 20 minutes, dude. But then he does A Nightmare on Elm Street, great slasher film, really freaky. And then he does Scream. And there was actually when Scream was first on the market, when it was a script, when it was written, there was a huge bidding war for it over a weekend. Really? Yeah, it was like the hottest script on the market. Everybody wanted it. Well, eventually a studio acquired it. Miramax / Dimension Films, they got a hold of it. And who was it? Was it Drew? I don't want to say this wrong. Drew Barrymore? Well, yeah, it was Drew Barrymore was wanting, and coincidentally, her name is Casey in the movie. I forgot that, but she was attached to the film, before it even had a director. Like, she wanted to be in this film really bad, and once Miramax got it, they basically handed it to Wes Craven, because the film is basically, kind of paying tribute to some of the work he did, in the 10 years before, or 10, 15 years before, and it is such a good movie. The script of Scream is so well written. It's so smart and funny, and at the same time also like scary. Like, it's, I don't know. Scream is just one of those movies for me that I love for not a huge, like, not a very specific reason. Just that it's a damn good movie. I just love it, Yeah. It's just, you jump really into it,
and it's just so charming. Like that opening like phone call sequence. It's like equal parts funny and terrifying, because you're like, this is not going to end well, but also this is great. Like, this guy is just being an asshole about like horror movie trivia. And like, wait, is this for real? Like, what is this?
Right? Like,
even the character in the movie acknowledges it. She's like, she thinks it's a joke, and then like, oh my god, no, this is real.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
It's such a well written script too. It's like a satire, but at the same time, it wants to be taken seriously, and it is taken seriously. Like, it's very easy to, it's not. It's so weird because it's in the canon of slasher films. But at the same time, riffing off of those slasher films, not necessarily making fun of them, but, just making people aware of what happens, and then simultaneously doing those same things. And it's just, I find it so fascinating. I could write a whole 10-page essay on it, dude. I love it. I think it's great. And I think Wes Craven, as a director, very influential. And his background really informs a lot of the things he does. I think, looking at his filmography, especially A Nightmare on Elm Street, is sort of a religiously charged film. And growing up Baptist, he was never allowed to watch movies. Like, it was Disney movies were allowed, but that was it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he saw his first actual film when he was in college, and he was actually in a Christian college, and he had to sneak away to another town to see it. But he went to go see To Kill a Mockingbird, and that was when he decided that he was like, if this movie is like considered sin, they got it wrong. and he basically left the church, left the college to pursue filmmaking full time. And he didn't even mean, like, people were like, is this like your movies, like they're horror movies, like is that sort of like a rebellion against what you were raised up as? And he was like, yeah, not really. He's like, I find it weird that I started doing horror. He's like, I guess I could just write horror so well, or do horror very well. And I don't know, like A Nightmare on Elm Street has some very like religious undertones. If you watch it, it's very it's just kind of crazy how he like kind of moves it in, even if he doesn't mean to, maybe just subconsciously, I don't know, but they feel very informed by his upbringing, and I think that's cool. I think it's cool as hell.
Also, just like scary ass concepts coming out of that movie, like
oh god,
the idea of not being able to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's so scary. If you like, it's one of those ideas where when you're watching the movie, you're like, oh, that seems fine, but it's something that would totally keep you awake.
Yeah.
At night. Like afterwards, it's like, oh god,
mm-hmm.
no, I need to sleep, but what if that's where I'm in danger?
Also, Johnny Depp is in that movie. That was the very first movie he was ever in.
Yeah.
It was like literally, it was like introducing Johnny Depp. And I was like, wait, what?
That's the only scene I really know from that movie is like the bed like opens up and then like all that blood like spurts out. Like, oh no, Johnny Depp. Poor guy.
Crazy movie.
When Amber Heard finally catches you. Oh no. That's a whole controversial thing. I mean, Johnny Depp sucks ass too, but
yeah.
Clarify. But this is not the podcast to be discussing Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Whoops.
Oh my god. Well, that's a whole episode in itself. But yeah. Well, let's move on.
Yeah. So like Wes Craven definitely bridges. Like with Scream to our like modern era of horror. I said horror. That's a hard word.
It is. I like to say horror, like horror.
Horror.
Witness the horror.
But we've got three brilliant fine men in our modern horror section. So. Let's hear them. Let's hear. Where do you want to start with these guys?
Let's go ahead and start with the one. Let's go ahead and start with Robert Eggers, because his first film, The Vivitch, as people like to call it, who I will also shoot you if you say that name in front of me. The Witch, directed The Witch.
Yeah, I love The Vivitch.
The Witch though, The Witch and The Lighthouse. Robert Eggers is a director is so easily distinguishable from every other, kind of like auteur filmmaker out there, because he puts so much research and thought and effort into just writing the screenplay. He has to make it accurate to the time, like he makes it a period piece. And then he has to make it scary, or he has to, put his own like themes into it. And I thought when I watched The Witch, I was, one, absolutely terrified, but also absolutely just like spellbound by the movie, of how just great the filmmaking was. The craft on screen, on display is absolutely immaculate. And same goes for The Lighthouse. That's one of my favorite movies like ever now. Like The Lighthouse is another film that is just so he nailed he wanted a certain aesthetic, and he went all the way. Like every aspect of that movie is thought out. There's not a single thing in the frame that probably was not contemplated about how it looked, where it needed to be, what time period it was from. They made sure everything was super accurate, and the movie is also just a terrifying look at two men going insane in a lighthouse, man. That's all the movie is. Like, if somebody asks me what it's about, I'm like, it's literally two men going insane in a lighthouse. Then that's all you need to know. And same thing about The Witch. Like, what is The Witch about? It's a family going insane during the Salem witch trials in New England.
On the outskirts.
On the outskirts.
Like, that's what's so scary about both of these. It's like you don't really see much of like a threat. You just see the effect that like isolation has on these people. Like And that's the kind of horror I'm into, is like just watching characters turn on each other. The Kubrick really laid the ground for that in The Shining, and then
definitely.
Robert Eggers is just like, I think that it's just so much. It speaks to his like craft that you have like these people that are speaking authentic like 17th century like English. Like I want to clarify, when I watched The Witch, I was in Panama with my friend, so they didn't have English subtitles, and it was like the movie was in another language. It was crazy. But I think it says something that that can be what's on the screen and what you're hearing, and you're kind of in a different culture, like looking in, like it's an authentic period piece, and yet you're still terrified for them and you still care for the characters.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the same with The Lighthouse. It's like I grew to like both of those characters like so much over the course of the movie, despite the fact that they're both pretty odd.
Yeah. Yeah. Disgusting.
Disgusting, yes.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, dude. I agree. The
Don't watch The Lighthouse with your mom, by the way. That was something I had to learn the hard way.
Don't. Yeah. Don't watch with mom or dad.
I watched with both. I mean, hey.
Oh, really? Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Did you?
And Dad engaged with it. Mom was like, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen."
That's funny. No, yeah. I couldn't get these films near my parents. They would they would not enjoy. They would not engage with it whatsoever.
Oh my gosh, The Witch's criticism of Christianity wouldn't jive well with your family? What?
Oh no, yeah. What you said though about about how Robert Eggers situates his characters. He's on the spectrum of not even show don't tell. He's on the spectrum of don't show don't tell, and it's more horrifying that way. He somehow is able to take the idea of the horror and just watch the characters go crazy over the idea of it, and that is somehow the most intense thing. It's genius, honestly. Like I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Like I think it's genius the way he writes and directs films, especially horror films. It's different. It's more different than anything I've ever seen, which makes him stand out. Absolutely. So if y'all haven't seen The Witch or The Lighthouse, please go watch it.
The Witcher.
The Witcher, The Lighthouse. Sorry, The Witch or The Lighthouse.
My bad. I was like, odd time to plug the Netflix original series The Witcher, but I'm here for it, I guess. Like, Henry Cavill's pretty great.
No, he is doing, his next film is going to be called The Northman, and then he's doing
I'm very interested in that.
I am very interested in The Northman, yes. But he's also doing something called I think it may be a reboot or maybe his own kind of spin on it, on Nosferatu. And, man, I don't care. Like, I just want to watch it. I just want to watch these movies, like, as soon as possible. I think he's going to do great with them. So, yeah, there's that. Very different filmmaker from the rest, but yeah, let's go ahead and get into the next one.
Which is, drumroll please.
We're going to talk about Ari Aster.
Oh my gosh. Another director with only 2 films out.
Yeah.
Just like Robert.
He has some short films that are actually pretty funny. A couple of them are horrifying, but
yeah, I saw one about the family. I didn't watch it, but I saw a Twitter discourse on it, and like the son is like raping the dad or something. It sounds horrifying, but like,
oh yeah. Well, is it The Strange Thing About the Johnsons?
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't watched that one, but that one in Munchausen those are the two short films that I think kind of inspired, kind of are on the same track as like Hereditary and Midsummer. I
need to see them. The short films. I've seen both.
Right.
Movies.
right. No, I've seen The Turtle's Head, his short, The Turtle's Head. That's like a funny, like kind of satire of like noir. But can I just say, I had no idea what Hereditary was. I had saw the trailers and took my friends to see it in theaters, thinking that it's just another horror movie. It might be good, might be bad. I knew it was A24, so I was like, it probably has some merit to it. Man, I had no idea. It's like expecting to be hit with a Nerf bullet, and then you actually get hit with a baseball going 100 miles an hour. You would die, but that's like how I felt in the theater, because I didn't know what to do. I was not expecting anything that movie like did. It was the most insane film that I saw all year, and probably my favorite movie, of 2018, and still one of my favorite movies of all time.
Hereditary is honestly one of the best horror movies I've ever seen, and the experience was only enhanced by kind of getting some false expectations from the trailer. Like, when you watch that trailer, you think you know what it's about, and then you watch the movie and you're like, oh my god, my assumptions have actually made this all the more horrifying, because characters I thought might be prominently featured apparently will not be.
Yeah, their stay is not extended.
I can't remember a movie that had me so shocked like Hereditary.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I had to stop watching. I was disturbed. Like, I actually did not make it through Hereditary because I didn't have the stomach for it the first time I started watching it. I had to come back to it another time, and I started it over, and I got to that part, which I don't know if we're trying to spoil these movies or not, so I'm not going to say what happens, but like, I got to that pretty brutal part in Hereditary, and then I was like, okay, well, I've seen it before, so I'll get through the rest of it, and of course it's all horrible. But what I love about Hereditary and what I love about Ari Aster's style is that he's more concerned with the drama that creates in relationships. Like, for the family, that starts breaking them down when what happens to them happens. And then in Midsummer, it's the focus on like this couple and their relationship and how that affects them. And I love that about his movies, because it's infinitely more like disheartening to see characters like fall out with each other, or like to lose it, or really. And I think he's such like he's connected with like human emotions. Like, I watched Midsummer and I saw the way like that couple fights, and I'm like, oh my god, that's how fights are though.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't mind if he just devoted a whole movie to a relationship, like no horror involved. Like, that's how good he is. And then on top of that, the horror is good too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. He's, like you said, he's very in tune with, human emotion and human, like, I guess just trauma and how different people process that. Hereditary's got a really great underlying themes of, mental illness, and so does Midsummer. And Midsummer's more of a breakup movie, while Hereditary is more a grieving movie. They both have aspects of grief, and two different characters that are very different, that deal with it very differently. And also, you have one movie that's sort of like, night horror, and the other one's like daytime horror. But they're both have his like style somehow. Like, he has a style that is there and absolutely terrifying. Unlike you, I could not stop watching Hereditary because I was in the movie theater. All I could do was scream out loud with everybody else. I literally, there was a couple in front of us, and after it was over, they were like, well, time to go to church. Like, let's go. And like, I kind of laughed, and I was like, yeah, this film will make you feel very like you're going to hell, like, or that the world is hell, like that you are in hell. Like, it's just a very dark movie, but also beautifully shot, and the story is well told. And then Midsummer is another one that you're like, okay, this is super
and the
dark.
score in Hereditary by
my
Colin
God.
Stetson is like
Yes.
fucking unrivaled. Holy shit.
Oh yeah.
Like,
It's and the score.
like
in
go listen to the
Midsommar,
track
too, like-
Reborn. Yeah. Oh, and Midsummer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
I agree
that
with you.
opening mural alone is
Yes.
just
Oh.
like, whoa.
His
So his directorial style is to be amazing at every aspect of filmmaking, I guess. Like,
I guess so. I don't know. I just can't say enough good things about him. Like, I'm just shocked at how great these his first two efforts are. And yeah, I love them. I think they're great. If y'all haven't seen them, if you have the stomach for them, please watch them. They will absolutely make you sick to your stomach, but they're amazing films and they need to be watched. And I hope that they get Criterion releases. I really do.
They're so good.
They are.
I literally have not shut up about either of these movies since I've seen them. And you know what? This is going to be controversial, but I actually do think the more I think about it, the more I think I like Midsummer just a tad bit more than Hereditary. But I don't know. That's such a hard call.
You're fine, because I've heard a lot of people say that, and honestly, for me, it's a hard call for me as well. I've seen them both, the same amount of times, and every time I'd be like, I want to watch this movie again. I'll be like, wait, do I want to watch Hereditary again, or do I want to watch Midsummer again? I think I lean towards Hereditary being the better one, but I cannot deny that Midsummer is also just an absolute masterpiece in and of itself. I just think he's amazing.
Dude, yeah. Great director, and has gotten a lot of praise from our next director, too.
Yes, and I saved this next director last because I just feel like we should save the best for last. I'm just kidding. They're all great. But I think this next director, honestly, is, I don't know. I just feel like, he gets the final thoughts, and that is Jordan Peele. An amazing man. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know how to start
I've
this
loved
off.
Jordan Peele since Key and Peele. Like,
Yeah,
my parents
same.
and I have watched like the sketches from that show so many times. And before Get Out came out, I'm like, Jordan Peele is the funniest man ever. Now I think he just might be one of the smartest men ever, because his transition from comedy to horror was like absolutely seamless. Like, I remember having my doubts about Get Out being like a very like interesting, or like a very horrific movie. But what I love about Jordan Peele is that oh my God, we only booked twofers for the
Yeah, I know,
directors. Did
because
you know that?
I just think that, these directors have the greatest twofers out there.
Yeah, dude, they're all great. Okay, but but like with Get Out and with Us, with both of these movies, it's not just about like being a horror movie. There's like aspects of comedy, there's satire, and there's always an undertone of like political and societal commentary in there that I think makes anything he does like infinitely more interesting than your average movie. Like, Get Out was just so great, and then Us, even though I don't think it's as nearly as good, I think that it's just as interesting. And wherever he touches, like, I'm gonna go see it, because I'm just now so infatuated with like his style and his like old-timey Rod Serling approach to filmmaking, which is to just like tell an interesting story, even if you've got to like stretch it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's so much a problem in Get Out. I do think Us stretches some things
definitely.
to get big reveals, but I don't mind. It's like entertaining, and that's the thing that Rod Serling knew when he was making The Twilight Zone, is it's like, it doesn't matter if the twist really like adds up as much as it pays off, you know?
Right, yeah. I think the biggest problem with Us is that it stretches its story to fit its theme, which, again, like you said, I'm totally fine with. I'm a big believer that Us is, just as good as Get Out. Like, obviously, I love Get Out a lot more. I just think, I'm just gravitated towards Get Out more. But when I saw Us, a lot of people were saying they didn't like it as much as Get Out. But I was like, I feel the same way about Us than I did when I walked out of seeing Get Out. That it's a masterpiece, and that Jordan Peele is literally going to be the next memorialized director in film history. It's Get Out is already such an important movie, and it's so telling to me that he can write. He wrote this film by himself, and it is so smart. It is so witty, and it is also terrifying. Probably more terrifying for a certain demographic, as he stated in a lot of interviews. He's like, it's a different kind of terrifying if you're white than you're black. He's like, if you're white watching Get Out and you notice the terror in that is like, oh, I've said that before. I've definitely said that before. Like,
yeah.
That's sort of like, it's like funny, but also at the same time, you're kind of like, oh shit,
Well, can I just say it's hilarious to me that the conservatives, like white conservatives, are the people triggered by Get Out when it's a satire about well-intentioned but ultimately harmful white liberals. Like, that's what it's going for. Like, if you see something in the racism, like, go ahead and get offended. But that movie wasn't supposed to be dunking on you explicitly. But
right.
since you went ahead and got triggered, I mean, go ahead.
Right? It's such an interesting movie. And again, with Us, they're very critical movies. I think they're looking at the society we're in now, and we live in a society.
We live in a society,
and I think Us is a wonderful representation of like class, and that's what I think the movie's about anyway. A lot of people have also said it's about race. Other people say it's about this and this and that, but I think it's about class.
I love that he's not coming out and just saying what it's about. Like,
oh hell yeah, I love that.
That's what I love the most about Us, is that it is a theory breeding ground. Like, people can just theorize a bunch of stuff. Like, I remember spending a bunch of time on Reddit after I saw the movie and just seeing like people's speculations. And I'm not gonna lie, like, some of this stuff really convinced me that maybe some events not explicitly shown on screen like occurred, like with the brother character especially. There's some really crazy fan theories I might have to talk to you about.
I mean, I'd love to hear them. Hey, let's make a whole episode called Us Fan Theories, where we just dissect Us.
Dude, we could talk about like fan theories for sure for a whole episode, like how fan theories affect like film.
Oh my God, please.
Hey, welcome to Mind Over Movies, the podcast where we come up with podcast ideas while you're listening.
Yeah.
But dude, I mean, Jordan Peele is just incredible. I've loved everything he's done. All these directors, all these twofer guys, they write and they direct and they make bangers, like banger after banger.
And I
don't think you can beat it.
I know we didn't say it, but we didn't explicitly state it. I just feel like it should be said, though. Jordan Peele being, an African-American director and making a movie like Get Out that's that big and that popular and that critically acclaimed is absolutely huge. And it's absolutely a landmark achievement, in cinema history. I know we've had black directors before, but this is something... He's so unabashed about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's I just think that's great, and I look forward to his next movie.
Get when people dunk on Jordan Peele or Ryan Coogler because they've become part of the mainstream. I just, you know what? I want to punch them because them being in the mainstream is what's so wonderful about them. Because they finally get to be a voice for they're a black voice in the mainstream media, and they might inspire a whole generation of filmmakers. And the fact that their movies are seen by a bunch of people is wonderful. This is something I've always hated. If something's mainstream, it doesn't mean it's without merit or value. Okay?
Exactly.
Just because it's not as hipster and indie as you would like it to be doesn't take away all of its like inner artistic merit. Okay?
It's the freaking hipsters, man.
Get over yourself.
I agree.
And if you think that a movie like Get Out or Us is like on the nose with the race thing, you're like missing the point. Like, people need to be aware of these topics anyway. And also, I would hardly say that like Get Out is on the nose with these things. Like, if you want an on the nose race movie, go see Zootopia, which also I think is a great movie.
Right. I agree.
And I think that being on the nose with the topic of race is great, because apparently you can be very blatant about how racism is a problem, and people still do not see that. So let's educate.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, to bring this whole discussion around, I just wanted to, I thought it'd be cool to talk about, 3 or 6 of these horror directors that were, of their time, and how their directing styles are so different, and how the horror genre was when they're in their time period that they're making horror. Ari Aster and Robert Eggers and Jordan Peele, their movies are great, but they're so different than the other ones. And Wes Craven and John Carpenter and George Romero, their movies are also great, but they're completely different. And I just think it's so interesting. They all have their own mythos. They all have their own style, but yet they've all contributed to this genre that is ever changing, ever evolving. I think it's one of the most fascinating genres out there, besides the Western, which I'll have an episode on soon. But anyway,
but I think it's safe to say that like these 6 people make horror one of my favorite genres, because with all of them, you never know what their next project is going to be and what they're going to do. And they always like keep to their vision and have a story like not go very predictably. Like, I don't think any of the movies we've talked about today that you can predict where they're going. And that's just the wonders of the horror genre. Anyone can die. Anything can happen. Any statement can be made. Like, horror is something that I think should get a lot more attention than it does. And like, of course, there's like trashy, like, we made this for $15,000 and we want to make like a quick buck off of it, like Blumhouse style.
Yeah.
Which I mean, Get Out is by Blumhouse and it's amazing. So I'm not saying that Blumhouse is inherently bad, but
right.
There's that kind of horror, but horror has always been trying very hard with very little attention compared to like Oscar bait movies. And I think it's time we get over ourselves and we acknowledge it as like one of the most progressive genres there is, and one of the most important ones too. Yeah. And like, if these 6 directors aren't remembered as like some of the best there were, like, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane, because these are all brilliantly made movies, all the ones we've talked about.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you said it yourself. I mean, they're masterminds, and they deserve, credit where credit is due, and it is due, and we are giving them credit. I love the horror genre. I think it's probably the craziest genre out there. The horror genre is one of the most interesting genres that you can play with, where you can play with themes and basically talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's a very interesting genre, and one that should be preserved at all costs, and it should keep evolving like it is. The horror genre has never stayed one thing. It's just kept moving and changing, ever evolving. I love it. And yeah,
dude, yeah. Speaking of always evolving and always changing, this podcast is changing in the sense that we are we're having a little bit of a mix-up this week. We're doing something special. Casey, would you like to
Yeah.
talk about that.
I will talk about it. So, me and Isaac have maybe come up with a little something for our listeners / viewers. We have 2 things in store for you this week. One, we are doing a giveaway, completely free giveaway. We are giving away 3 free months of Amazon Prime, and I know we're a movie podcast. Where does Amazon Prime fit into this? Well, Prime Video. Or their whatever Prime streaming channel is. As long as you have Amazon Prime, you get access to that. And that streaming channel has got a lot of great stuff on it. Honestly, a huge abundance of films and TV shows to watch on there. So we're giving away 3 months of that. And we're also giving away a free month of the Criterion channel. The Criterion channel is a little bit more, I guess, highbrow, but... They have some great, film classics on there, and you can just dig through that stream, and just find movies that look interesting to you. And I guarantee you, 2 out of 3 of them are that's where I watched Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, A Tale of Two Sisters, and a bunch of other of these films that I've mentioned before that I like that are like foreign films. They got a lot of their foreign film collection is amazing. It's great, and they. Very diverse, they have a whole several collections of African American directors and women directors, and it's great. So we're giving away both of those, and if you want to be entered into that giveaway, then all you have to do is you have to be following our Twitter account and our Instagram account.
That's at Mind Over Movies 2, and
yes,
on Twitter, and at Mind_over_movies on Instagram.
Yes, thank you. I always forget to actually plug the username, but
you got to plug them.
I know. And you have to be following both of those, and you have to retweet the giveaway post that will be up on our Twitter by the time that this episode drops. So as long as you do that, of course,
there will be a post there. Detailing all this too.
Definitely, yeah. So as long as you retweet, that post, and you're following, both of our accounts, you will be automatically entered into the giveaway, and then we will randomly select a winner for those prizes. So get to retweeting, folks, if you want some. And this is not the only time we'll do this. We want to do more giveaways and stuff. This is just our first foray into the whole thing, and we think it'd be fun.
Yeah, we love you, and we appreciate you supporting us, and we want to do something for you, baby.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, can we drop this? Can we announce this this other big thing?
Isaac, I think we can. I think we can go ahead and drop it. Do you want to introduce this one?
Yes. So
go ahead.
You may have remembered a couple weeks ago I interviewed Casey about his filmmaking career, and I did mention that I was in one of these movies, and so we're very excited to announce that Crimes of Good Intentions is having a trailer drop this week. I've seen it because I'm special and I'm in it. And let me just say, it's awesome. You should go check it out and get hype, because the official movie is coming out sometime this March, or April.
It's going to be hopefully late March. I have a specific date on the trailer that we're eyeing, that we're thinking it's going to be out by. So, and I'm going to take it a step further, actually. If you're on YouTube, I'm going to drop the trailer right now for you. You get a first look right here live on the podcast. Right here.
Dude.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right?
So stay tuned.
Yeah.
You're going to see a trailer, YouTube audience. Spotify audience, we love you.
Yeah. Sorry.
We'll do a big audio description of it next week. Why not?
I'm gonna release the trailer on YouTube as its own entity, but for the YouTube podcast listeners, or for the ones that are on Spotify that want to go look it up on YouTube, we will be dropping the trailer at the end of this episode for you to watch. So yeah, it's gonna be great. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm just so excited. I could go rob a bank right now.
Really?
Or a house. Yeah. In fact, I've already got my tube sock. I've got this 9mm pistol, as a matter of fact.
Ooh, okay.
And a bag. Comically, it has a $sign on it, so it's actually perfect for robbing houses. Do you want in?
Yes. Is it here in Conway?
Oh, it's a great thing you said yes, because I am holding your family hostage until you're done with the heist. So I mean, like, that's great.
Okay.
It is here in Conway. And it's
yeah,
actually your house.
Okay.
If you could hand over your wallet
okay.
and go ahead and start reading those first 16 digits on your debit card now.
Yeah. I just, anything to see my family again. Just please don't hurt them. I'll get it out right now.
Okay, so everyone listen for these digits right now.
All right,
okay?
here.
Casey's going to start reading them. We're going to hear them for real.
All right. It's 8023 7451 6608.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
In prison, I did the whole etching the days on the wall thing that they do in there. I got to 1,135 days. That's 3 years and 40 days. On the last day, I drew a smiley face.